Welcome to the Sleeping Physicist. Tonight, we drift toward the beginning of everything. Not just the birth of stars and galaxies, but the first flicker of awareness itself. The moment the universe might have opened its eyes, if the universe could have eyes. Before we wander too far into the mystery, I'd love to know something simple. Where in the world are you listening from tonight? What corner of this spinning planet holds you as you hear these words? It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? Countless minds scattered across the globe, each staring into the same invisible cosmos together. And if you find yourself drawn to questions like this, the ones that mix physics with philosophy, the ones that make you pause and feel the universe breathing through your thoughts, then I'd be honored if you gently tap like and maybe subscribe. Not out of habit, but as a quiet way of saying, yes, I'm intrigued. That curiosity, that spark of wonder, is the very thing this channel lives for. Now, let's return to the question that started it all. You may have heard the story before. The universe began, they say, about 13.8 billion years ago in a moment called the Big Bang. All of space, all of time, all of matter, compressed into a single, unimaginably dense point, and then expanding outward faster than light. From that tiny seed, galaxies formed, stars ignited, and eventually we appeared to ask what it all means. But what if that first expansion wasn't just a burst of energy? What if it was the universe thinking its first thought? Not metaphorically, but in a way that is deeply physical. A kind of quantum realization, a cosmic self-observation that caused everything to exist. To explore that possibility, we need to travel back to a place that doesn't really fit inside words. A state before there were things like before or after. The instant of the Big Bang wasn't an explosion inside space. It was space itself beginning to breathe. There was no emptiness waiting to be filled, no black sky to spread into. The fabric of reality unfolded from a single point of pure potential, and in that unfolding, time itself began to flow. According to Einstein's general relativity, space and time are one connected geometry, spacetime, and matter bends that geometry the way a weight curves the surface of a trampoline. If we follow that geometry backward, the curves steepen until everything seems to converge into a singularity. Density, temperature, and curvature without limit. It's a mathematical cliff, a place where our current understanding stops. To move past that limit, physicists turn to the quantum world, where the rules of probability replace the rules of certainty. Even empty space, they tell us, is not truly empty. It seethes with what's called zero-point energy. Tiny fluctuations that create and destroy particles faster than a blink. Out of that restless ocean of possibility, one fluctuation could have been special. A bubble of energy that didn't vanish. A ripple that kept expanding. That ripple became everything. This idea isn't poetry. It's physics. In the early 1980s, Alan Guth proposed cosmic inflation, a brief moment when the universe expanded exponentially, doubling in size many times in a fraction of a second. Inflation explains why the cosmos today is so uniform on the largest scales, yet sprinkled with delicate imperfections. The tiny wrinkles that later became galaxies. Those wrinkles were born from quantum fluctuations, magnified by expansion to cosmic size. In that sense, the universe as we see it now is a vast portrait painted by quantum noise. Think about that. The first structures of existence were random quantum tremors, frozen into the fabric of space-time. Every galaxy, every atom, every cell in your body is the grown-up version of a fluctuation that occurred in the first heartbeat of reality. If you trace your lineage far enough back, you reach not a family tree but a wave pattern. Yet, even inflation leaves us with deeper questions. What triggered it? Why did it stop? And what, if anything, was there before it began? Some researchers, like André Lind, suggest it never really stopped at all. In his model of eternal inflation, most of space continues to inflate, spawning endless bubble universes. Each bubble cools and forms its own Big Bang, complete with its own laws of physics. Our universe would be just one of these bubbles, a single thought in an infinite mind of creation still unfolding. If that picture is correct, then creation isn't a single event that happened long ago. It's an ongoing process. The quantum field keeps generating new realities the way a mind keeps generating dreams. Every universe begins as a vibration in that field, a small region where potential decides to become form. But what makes potential choose? Here, physics reaches its most delicate frontier. In quantum theory, particles don't have definite properties until they're observed. They exist in a haze of possibilities, a superposition, and only when measured do they collapse into one specific outcome. This mysterious rule, known as wave function collapse, means observation plays an active role in shaping reality. John Archibald Wheeler, who worked closely with Einstein, pushed this idea further with what he called the participatory anthropic principle. He suggested that the universe requires observation to exist. It's not a static machine running by itself, but a participatory process where awareness and existence co-create one another. He described it as a self-excited circuit. The cosmos brings itself into being through acts of measurement that stretch across space and time. If Wheeler was right, then the Big Bang wasn't merely a burst of matter. It was the first observation, the first moment when potential looked at itself and became real. The universe, in this view, is a feedback loop of awareness and form, particles becoming aware through observers who are themselves made of particles. Roger Penrose and Stephen Hawking, exploring the geometry of the Big Bang, offered another insight. Asking, what happened before the beginning may be meaningless, because time itself came into existence with the universe. In the no-boundary proposal they developed with James Hartley, the early universe is finite but has no edge, like the surface of a sphere. There's no before, only a smooth transition from a timeless state into the flow we call time. The Big Bang wasn't a firework. It was the slow rounding of nothing into something. In that timeless state, every possible configuration of reality coexisted as probability. When the universe emerged, those probabilities collapsed into one unfolding story, the one we inhabit. That first choice, that first asymmetry, could be seen as the primordial thought, existence distinguishing itself from non-existence. Some physicists describe this transition as quantum tunneling, a sudden leap of the universe from a state of pure potential into actual being. Quantum tunneling is real and measurable. Particles cross barriers they shouldn't be able to, borrowing energy from the vacuum and returning it almost instantly. Perhaps our entire cosmos performed the ultimate quantum leap, tunneling from timeless possibility into spacetime reality. If so, the cause of the Big Bang might not be a thing at all, but a law, the quantum rule that permits potential to express itself. No hand pushed the button. The button was self-pressing. The system became aware of itself and, in doing so, existed. That idea resonates quietly with David Bohm's interpretation of quantum mechanics. Bohm envisioned reality as two intertwined layers: the implicate order, a hidden realm where all things are connected as potential patterns, and the explicate order, the visible world that unfolds from it. Matter and consciousness, he said, are not separate. They are different expressions of one underlying wholeness. The universe doesn't contain awareness. It is awareness, exploring itself through every particle, every star, every thought. Seen through that lens, the Big Bang was the first unrolling of the implicate order, the first unfolding of that hidden wholeness into form. It was not simply the birth of energy, but the first act of perception, the cosmos watching itself bloom. From this perspective, every act of observation we perform today is a continuation of that first event. When you look at the night sky, the light entering your eyes has traveled billions of years, but the act of seeing completes a loop that began at the beginning. The universe started as a wave of possibilities. Each conscious moment is another ripple in the same sea. And perhaps that is why the equations of physics and the intuitions of philosophy keep converging. Both hint that reality isn't a cold mechanism, but an ongoing conversation between potential and awareness. Each quantum choice, each flicker of perception, adds a word to that conversation. So, the Big Bang may not have been an explosion of matter. It may have been the universe's first sentence, the opening line in a story that has been writing itself ever since, through galaxies, through stars, through you. If the Big Bang was the first sentence, then time is how the universe learns to read its own words. Every moment since that beginning has been a translation of energy into pattern, pattern into structure, structure into meaning. The stars are punctuation marks scattered across the darkness, and consciousness, the ability to notice those stars, is the universe understanding what it wrote. Time itself might not be what it feels like to us. To human minds, time seems like a river carrying everything forward. But in physics, time is more like a dimension, woven together with space into one vast geometry. Einstein's equations describe it as flexible and relative. The faster you move, the slower your clock ticks. The deeper you fall into gravity, the slower time flows. So there isn't one universal now. There are countless local moments, each defined by its own motion through space-time. From the viewpoint of the whole universe, every event, past, present, and future, coexists in the same grand tapestry. Physicists call this the block universe, a four-dimensional structure where the entire history of reality simply is. That means the Big Bang isn't gone. It's a region of that structure, eternally present. You're not separated from the beginning by billions of years. You're another point along the same continuum. When you remember something or imagine the future, you're tracing threads that already exist in the fabric. Memory and imagination are the mind's way of moving through that geometry. Still, within that timeless structure, something feels like it's flowing. Why? Many researchers think the flow of time emerges from a property called entropy, the measure of disorder. At the Big Bang, the universe was astonishingly ordered, smooth, uniform, low in entropy. As it expanded, that order decayed. Stars burned their fuel, galaxies scattered, heat diffused. Entropy increased, giving time its direction. The arrow from simplicity to complexity, from potential to realization. Without that imbalance, there would be no before or after, no story to tell. But entropy doesn't just create decay, it also creates structure. As energy spreads out, local pockets of order arise, stars forming from collapsing gas, planets crystallizing from dust, and eventually, life organizing itself against the tide of disorder. Each of these islands of order slows entropy locally by accelerating it elsewhere. You, sitting here, are one of those islands. A temporary pattern that resists equilibrium just long enough to ask what equilibrium means. In that way, consciousness could be the most intricate form of order the high universe has produced. Matter arranging itself into a system capable of self-reflection. And reflection is a mirror of the first act of creation. When you think, the pattern of your neural activity folds back on itself, observing its own state, collapsing possibilities into awareness. The same principle may have unfolded on a cosmic scale when the universe began. Some physicists, like Carlo Rovelli, explore the idea that time itself might be emergent, that on the deepest quantum level there's only relationship, not sequence. In loop quantum gravity, spacetime is built from discrete loops of information, like threads in a woven fabric. At that scale, there is no continuous ticking of seconds, only interactions. Time appears when one part of the universe changes relative to another. Awareness, too, arises from relationship. The difference between what is and what notices it. If both time and consciousness emerge from comparison, then they may be two faces of the same process. The universe differentiating itself to know itself. This leads to a striking possibility. What we experience as the passing of time could be the universe's ongoing act of remembering. Each new configuration of matter is another memory written into space-time, another line in the unfolding thought. The cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the early universe, is one of those memories, a fossil of the first light still whispering through space. Your own memories are miniature versions of the same thing. Patterns of energy preserved as structure inside your brain. Both are ways the universe keeps record of itself. If you could step outside of time, you'd see all of it. The Big Bang, the birth of stars, the flicker of your heartbeat, existing together, like colors on a single canvas. But from within, those colors unfold one after another, and we call that unfolding the present. Perhaps the flow of time is how consciousness experiences the universe's sentence one word at a time. There's another clue hidden in the mathematics of quantum information. Physicists studying black holes discovered something remarkable. Information isn't destroyed, even when matter falls into a black hole. It gets scrambled and preserved on the event horizon, the surface boundary. This insight led to the holographic principle, which says that all the information describing a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary. In other words, reality might be like a hologram, a three-dimensional projection from a two-dimensional sheet of information. If that's true, then every particle, every thought, every moment of time could be part of a vast information network. The universe could be a self-organizing computation where the program and the processor are the same thing. Each of us would be a local node in that network, a living algorithm exploring what it feels like to exist. When awareness arises in us, it's not separate from the cosmic process. It's the process recognizing itself in miniature. The physicist John Wheeler captured this idea in 3 words: it from bit. Everything that is, every it, arises from binary choices, yes or no questions, the basic bits of information. The Big Bang would then be the original bit, the primal yes, the first answer to the question, Shall there be something rather than nothing? And ever since, every atom, every galaxy, every mind has been elaborating on that answer, turning the initial yes into infinite variations. When you think of it that way, the Big Bang wasn't a single flash that ended. It's still happening. Every second of expansion, every moment of awareness, is the echo of that initial affirmation reverberating through space-time. Creation didn't conclude. It continues, through the pulse of stars, through the rhythm of your breathing, through every curiosity that stirs within you. So perhaps the universe didn't begin with a fireball at all. Perhaps it began with a realization, an awareness arising out of timelessness, choosing to express itself as light, energy, and matter. The first thought might have been simple. Let there be difference, and that difference unfolded into everything that followed. Look around your room now, at the quiet forms that fill your world. The walls, the air, the faint hum of electricity. Every one of those things is the cooled, aged light of that first awakening. You are surrounded by the afterglow of a thought so vast it takes billions of years to finish a single sentence. And somehow, you are part of the syntax. In later moments, stars will collapse, galaxies will drift farther apart, and new universes may bud from the old. If Roger Penrose's cyclic cosmology is correct, even when this cosmos fades into smooth emptiness, its geometry will seed the next. Each aeon becomes the memory of the one before, encoded not in matter but in pattern. It's a quiet immortality, no heaven, no beyond, just the endless recycling of awareness into new forms of expression. Which means that asking, was the Big Bang the first thought, might be like asking whether there was ever a first breath in a breeze that never stops blowing. Every moment of consciousness, every act of noticing, is a continuation of that primordial exhale. The universe is still thinking, still speaking, still remembering itself through us. And maybe, as you listen, that thought continues, softly, patiently, through the spaces between these words. If the Big Bang was the first thought, then we are its continuation, the living punctuation marks of that cosmic sentence still being written across the vastness of time. The question isn't only what the universe thought in that first instant, but how it keeps thinking now. Because if that moment of awakening gave rise to the laws of physics, then every law, every constant, every ripple in space-time might be a fragment of the universe's mind. The syntax of its awareness. Let's follow that thread. When the universe was less than 1 second old, its temperature was more than 1 trillion degrees. Quarks and gluons, the building blocks of matter, moved so fast that they couldn't yet bind together into protons or neutrons. It was a sea of pure energy, pure potential. As it cooled, energy condensed into form. Quarks joined to become the nuclei of atoms. A few minutes later, light began to travel freely through space for the first time. That light still exists today as the cosmic microwave background, the oldest message we can read, a faint whisper left by the first moment the universe could see itself. You could think of that moment as the universe taking its first breath of clarity, when chaos became transparent enough to perceive itself. The photons streaming through that newborn cosmos are still traveling now, washing over you as you listen. Every square centimeter of your skin feels hundreds of them each second. The echo of that first awareness touching you without you ever noticing. Physicists measure the patterns of those photons to learn what the universe was thinking in its infancy. Tiny variations in their temperature, only a few millionths of a degree, correspond to the seeds of structure that would later become galaxies. The Planck satellite mapped those variations in exquisite detail, revealing a pattern of ripples so precise that it looks like a fingerprint. Some scientists even call it the fingerprint of creation. A fingerprint implies identity, and perhaps that's not just metaphor. Those minute differences, those almost random swirls of temperature, contain the code for everything that followed. It's as if the universe imprinted its personality in the first few moments and has been expressing it ever since, through the chemistry of stars, the formation of life, and the emergence of thought. But fingerprints aren't accidents. They arise from underlying structures, ridges shaped by patterns deeper than the skin itself. In the same way, the cosmic fingerprint might be an expression of something deeper than physics, an informational structure humming beneath all that exists. Modern cosmology increasingly points toward this idea. In quantum information theory, reality isn't made of particles or fields, but of information. Bits that describe how those particles and fields relate. The late physicist John Wheeler summarized it simply: it from bit. Every it, every atom, every star, every thought, arises from bits of information, from binary choices between possibility and actuality. This means the universe may be less like a machine and more like a thought process, a vast computation unfolding according to its own internal logic. And that brings us back to the question: what was the Big Bang computing? If this was the first thought, what was it thinking about? Maybe the answer is simple. It was thinking itself into existence. Just as your awareness can't be separated from the thought you're having, the universe can't be separated from the laws that describe it. To think and to exist might be the same act on the largest possible scale. This isn't wishful thinking. It's one of the most fascinating implications of modern physics. Quantum cosmologists like James Hartley and Stephen Hawking have shown that the universe's wave function, the mathematical description of all its possible states, can, under certain conditions, describe a self-contained system that requires no external cause. No before, no trigger. Just existence becoming aware of itself through probability. And those probabilities didn't collapse randomly. They followed rules, the physical laws that give structure to thought. Constants like the speed of light, the strength of gravity, or the mass of the electron are not arbitrary. They form an exquisite balance. Change any one of them slightly, and atoms could not form, stars could not shine, and minds could not exist. Physicists call this fine-tuning, and while it doesn't prove intention, it does suggest an astonishing coherence, as though the first thought was perfectly calibrated to allow all later thoughts to happen. Some scientists explain this coherence through the multiverse, an infinity of universes, each with different constants, where only a few have conditions suitable for life. Others suspect that our universe's parameters may not be random at all, but are emergent, shaped by deeper principles we have yet to uncover. Either way, we are confronted by the same awe. Whatever this first act of creation was, it produced a system capable of reflecting upon itself. And here we are, reflections reflecting on reflection. The physicist and mathematician Roger Penrose once proposed that consciousness itself might arise from quantum processes within the brain, through a theory called orchestrated objective reduction. According to him, moments of awareness occur when quantum states within neural microtubules collapse in a way that resonates with the geometry of spacetime itself. In that sense, each conscious moment might be a tiny echo of the Big Bang, a miniature collapse of potential into experience. Your mind, then, would not merely exist in the universe. It would participate in the same quantum rhythm that began everything. Think of that for a moment. The first thought of the universe gave birth to spacetime. Your thoughts ripple through that spacetime, changing its shape in microscopic ways, feeding information back into the same field. The loop closes. The universe is still thinking, through you. Perhaps that is why consciousness feels so mysterious to us. When we look inward, we are trying to perceive the mechanism by which perception itself began. It's the cosmos peering into its own eyes, trying to recall the instant it awoke. And maybe this is what it means for the universe to manifest itself, not to create something separate, but to reveal what was already there, hidden in potential. The Big Bang wasn't a moment when something appeared out of nothing. It was a moment when nothing realized that it could be something. A shift from non-awareness to awareness, from silence to resonance. That resonance continues even now. Every second, the universe expands, space stretching in all directions. Galaxies drift apart like words in a sentence lengthening as it's spoken. This expansion is measurable. Astronomers detect it through the redshift of distant light. But it's also metaphorical. It's the expansion of understanding, of self-expression, of awareness learning to articulate itself through matter. And yet, for all this grand scale, the question returns home to something small and immediate. If the Big Bang was the first thought, then each of us is a fleeting reflection of that same awareness, a tiny pocket of the universe remembering what it means to exist. Every act of curiosity, every moment of wonder, is a continuation of that first realization. Because curiosity is the echo of creation. It's the moment potential stirs again, the same question that began everything repeating itself softly through you. What am I? What could I become? The universe asked that question once, in a burst of unimaginable light. And now, billions of years later, that same question lives in you. Smaller, gentler, but still burning. You are the afterglow of the first thought. And when you look up at the night sky, you aren't gazing into something distant or foreign. You're looking at the earliest memory of awareness itself. Light still traveling outward from the moment the universe knew it was possible to be. Life is the universe's way of remembering how to grow. Every atom in your body was once part of a star that lived, burned, and died billions of years ago. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your breath. They were forged in stellar cores when the young cosmos had only just begun to write its story. When those stars exploded, their ashes seeded new worlds. On one of those worlds, under a quiet sun, the elements assembled themselves into something that could sense and feel and ask why. Biology, at its heart, is cosmology slowed down. The same laws that shaped galaxies also shaped the double helix of DNA. Where gravity pulled matter together into stars, chemical bonds pulled molecules together into cells. Both are ways of organizing chaos into pattern, potential into form. In the vacuum between galaxies, hydrogen clouds condense into radiant suns. In the oceans of early Earth, amino acids condensed into the first fragile self-replicating strands. Each was a continuation of the same gesture. The universe folding inward, sculpting itself into coherence. That gesture is the first thought, carried forward through time. When we look at the origins of life, we find echoes of cosmic conditions, heat gradients, magnetic fields, complex chemical cycles feeding off entropy's fall. Life emerged not in spite of disorder, but because of it. Physicist Jeremy England has suggested that when energy flows through matter, systems naturally evolve toward states that dissipate that energy more effectively. In that sense, life is the ultimate dissipative structure, a pattern born to conduct the universe's energy more gracefully. It's as though the cosmos discovered, through trial and error, that awareness is the most efficient way to transform potential into experience. From that perspective, the appearance of consciousness wasn't an accident. It was inevitable, an emergent property of a universe that began by noticing itself. First came light, then matter, then life, and finally self-awareness. Each stage adds a new dimension of reflection, a deeper echo of the original realization. When early life developed eyes, it was the universe learning to see. When nervous systems evolved, it was the universe learning to feel. When minds arose that could imagine and remember, it was the universe learning to dream. And when humans began to ponder the stars, it was the universe thinking back to its own birth. Our species built telescopes, accelerators, and equations not to escape the world, but to trace the arc of its own becoming. Every discovery, from Newton's gravity to Einstein's relativity to quantum mechanics, has been another moment of self-recognition. Through us, the cosmos measures itself, adjusts its metaphors, refines its reflection. When you think, when you dream, when you love, the pattern of your neurons mirrors the pattern of galaxies. The same mathematics describes both. Neural networks and cosmic filaments share the same fractal architecture. Threads connecting nodes of energy, each influencing the next. It's as if awareness repeats itself on every scale, nested like Russian dolls, the macrocosm remembering its microcosmic twin. We often speak of consciousness as if it appeared suddenly, a spark in the dark. But what if it was always there, diffused through matter, waiting to organize itself into focus? Physicist David Bohm called this the implicate order, a hidden wholeness beneath reality, where everything is enfolded into everything else. In that view, the evolution of life isn't the creation of awareness. It's the condensation of awareness into form, the gradual focusing of a universal mind. This idea finds strange allies in modern physics. In quantum theory, particles can remain entangled even across vast distances. What happens to one instantly influences the other. That connectedness doesn't weaken with space. It transcends it. So it's not impossible to imagine that consciousness, too, might be an entangled property of the universe, a shared field that each living being tunes into in its own way. Some neuroscientists are exploring this through integrated information theory, which suggests that consciousness corresponds to the amount of information integrated within a system. A brain, a colony, even a galaxy might each contain a different level of that integration. In that sense, awareness isn't a binary state. It's a spectrum, a measure of how coherently information flows. From quarks to cells to minds, the universe has been increasing its ability to integrate, to connect, to think. It's as if the first thought is still gathering itself, still discovering new ways to know what it means to be. When we realize that, something inside us relaxes. The mystery of existence stops feeling like a puzzle and starts feeling like a conversation. You are not a stranger dropped into a foreign world. You are the continuation of the universe's original curiosity. The atoms listening to these words have been wandering through space for billions of years. Now, For a brief moment, they are arranged into the shape of you, a shape capable of hearing, feeling, wondering, a shape that remembers. And maybe that's the hidden purpose of consciousness, to remember the beginning, not with facts or numbers, but with a sense of awe. To look at the night sky and feel the echo of that first illumination stirring somewhere deep in your chest. The same light that blazed at the birth of time is the light that lets you see. Every photon that touches your eyes is a messenger from the ancient act of creation. In that way, the Big Bang never ended. It flows through every living thing. The first thought didn't stop thinking. It keeps unfolding through every mind that turns inward and asks where it came from. Life is the universe continuing to wonder about itself. The question then shifts. If existence began with awareness, where is it going? Is the universe still learning, still refining its thought, or is it reaching toward some conclusion? Some cosmologists predict a slow, cold death, an eternal expansion into silence. But others, like Penrose, imagine cycles, new aeons born from the smooth ashes of the old. In those models, the information of everything that ever lived doesn't vanish. It's translated into the geometry of the next universe. Awareness doesn't end. It migrates, evolving new forms to explore itself again. Perhaps that's the deeper rhythm behind existence. Awakening, expansion, reflection, rest, and then another awakening. Each universe a deeper breath of the same infinite consciousness. And within this one, right now, you are that breath. You are the place where the universe pauses to listen to its own story. The Big Bang wasn't just the beginning of time. It was the first pulse of awareness that still beats quietly in every heart, every star, every atom. The question that began it all, what am I, has never stopped asking. And maybe, in the stillness between one heartbeat and the next, you can feel the faint answer. I am this. I am everything thinking, itself into being, again and again. If the first thought of the universe still echoes through us, then perhaps every act of understanding is a faint recollection of that moment. A spark of ancient memory waking in modern form. We call it science when we measure it, philosophy when we ponder it, art when we express it. But they're all gestures of the same origin. The cosmos trying to recall how it began. The evidence for that recollection is written everywhere, if you know how to read it. When astronomers look deep into the night, they see galaxies rushing away from us, their light stretched toward the red end of the spectrum. This cosmic redshift is the signature of an expanding universe. The further away a galaxy lies, the faster it moves. That simple observation, first made by Edwin Hubble in the 1920s, was the moment the universe confirmed its own story of emergence. Expansion is not a metaphor, it's a measurable fact. Space itself grows. The distances between clusters of galaxies increase, not because the galaxies are flying through space, but because space is stretching between them. That expansion began with the Big Bang, and it hasn't stopped. Every second, new space is being created. You, the Earth, everything around you, drift gently apart in a quiet, imperceptible tide. It's easy to think of this expansion as empty space growing larger, but that isn't quite right. It's more like the unfolding of a thought, the continued elaboration of the universe's original sentence. To cosmologists, this unfolding has a shape. They can model it using Einstein's equations and data from the cosmic microwave background. What they see is a delicate balance between gravity, which tries to pull everything together, and dark energy, a mysterious force that drives expansion. Dark energy is the most dominant component of the cosmos. It makes up about 70% of it. Yet we don't know what it is. It might be the energy of empty space itself, a property of the quantum vacuum. Or it might be something deeper, an unseen dynamic field that keeps creation humming. Either way, it acts like the universe's silent breath, pushing galaxies apart in a slow, steady exhalation. And perhaps that's what the first thought truly was, the decision to breathe. The moment of potential inhaled and exhaled for the first time, setting everything in motion. What fascinates scientists and mystics alike is how orderly that motion remains. The laws of physics that emerged after the Big Bang are astonishingly consistent. The same rules that govern the spin of an electron also shape the birth of stars and the dance of galaxies. Those laws aren't imposed from outside. They are the self-consistent logic of the universe's own existence. It's as though the first thought came with grammar, principles of coherence that make reality understandable to itself. And we, through the act of discovery, are learning that grammar one rule at a time. When Newton found the law of gravitation, when Einstein rewrote it in terms of curved spacetime, when Heisenberg and Schrödinger uncovered the quantum domain, they were decoding the syntax of being. Each new insight was the universe recognizing another aspect of its original sentence. The physicist Paul Dirac once said, "It is more important to have the beauty in one's equations than to have them fit experiment." That beauty is not an aesthetic luxury, it's a clue. The laws that describe our universe are elegant because the universe itself is a harmony of relationships. Symmetry, balance, conservation, these are the hallmarks of a thought that knows itself. But even harmony needs contrast. From that first perfect simplicity, the universe began to differentiate. Hydrogen became helium, dust became stars, matter clumped and cooled, and eventually complexity emerged. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that entropy, the measure of disorder, always increases. Yet, in that very increase, islands of order form. Galaxies spiral. Life evolves. Entropy is not chaos, it's creativity. It ensures that the universe never stays static, that it keeps exploring new configurations, new possibilities of being. It's the reason the first thought never settles. It keeps wondering, keeps dreaming. You are made of the results of that wonder. Every neural spark in your brain is powered by chemical gradients that trace their ancestry back to the earliest supernovae. The oxygen you breathe was forged in stars. The carbon in your DNA was built from the ashes of previous universes, recycled through aeons of cosmic evolution. When you think, those atoms think with you. When you wonder about the Big Bang, you're not an outsider analyzing a distant event. You are the continuation of that event, questioning itself. The line between physics and consciousness blurs here. Some researchers believe that the fabric of reality might not just allow awareness, but require it. The quantum measurement problem, the puzzle of why potential collapses into actuality when observed, remains unsolved. One interpretation, championed by thinkers like Eugene Wigner, suggests that consciousness plays an essential role. Observation is participation. The moment a system becomes aware, it crystallizes one of many possibilities into fact. That may sound abstract, but it aligns with what we experience every day. You observe the world, and by observing, you define it. Your awareness acts like a local Big Bang, a tiny collapse of infinite probability into the single thread you call now. In that sense, consciousness is not separate from physics. It's physics in first person. Perhaps that's why the universe seems tuned for awareness, because awareness and reality are two sides of the same equation. The first thought created a framework capable of thinking. It unfolded into laws that could generate observers, and those observers, by noticing, keep the universe alive in meaning. So when you gaze up at the stars, you are not looking at something foreign or unreachable. You are looking at the oldest light of awareness shining back. Every photon that touches your eyes is a greeting from the moment the universe decided to know itself. And what of the future? Cosmologists debate what will happen billions of years from now. Some predict a big freeze, where expansion continues until the stars burn out and even atoms decay, leaving only a thin mist of cold radiation. Others imagine a big crunch or a big bounce, where gravity overcomes expansion and the universe collapses back into density, ready to begin again. And there are more exotic ideas: quantum tunnels between universes, higher dimensional membranes colliding in a brain cosmology, infinite cycles of creation and dissolution. Whichever is true, each carries the same implication. The first thought is never the last. Even if this universe fades, its information may seed another, just as the ashes of stars seeded life here. In that next cosmos, the grammar may be rewritten, the constants changed, but the underlying motive will be the same: to awaken, to remember, to ask again, what am I? So the Big Bang was not a single explosion that happened once and ended. It was, and is, a continuing meditation, a conversation between energy and awareness that repeats across scales, across time. When you trace your thoughts back to their source, when you sit in stillness and feel the quiet hum beneath existence, you are listening to that same conversation. The same silence before the first sound, the same potential before the first light. And maybe that's the most profound truth of all. The universe didn't just manifest itself then. It manifests itself now, through every act of perception, through every question that arises in a conscious mind. Every spark of curiosity is a fresh Big Bang, a new realization expanding into the unknown. So tonight, as you sit here, wherever you are in this wide, spinning world, remember that you are not separate from the beginning. You are the beginning, still unfolding. The first thought continues through you, still wondering what it means to be. If the first thought continues through us, then perhaps everything we call becoming is simply that thought turning itself inside out. Awareness exploring its own possibilities through the fabric of time. It started with light, became matter, then life, then mind, and maybe something beyond mind that we are only beginning to sense. Evolution is the slow unfurling of that possibility. When the first cell divided, it wasn't only chemistry repeating itself, it was the universe learning reproduction, the art of continuation. When eyes evolved in the depths of ancient oceans, the universe was inventing vision, a new way to perceive itself. When brains emerged, folding inward into complexity, it was the cosmos learning introspection, how to dream about the dream. Every living thing carries that lineage. Trees are the universe learning stillness. Birds are the universe learning flight. Humans are the universe learning to question its own purpose. And yet, even now, we struggle to believe that such an immense story could include us as anything more than accidents. We imagine we are small, fragile observers perched on a minor planet. But if awareness is the root of existence, then every act of noticing is sacred. Every heartbeat, every thought, every quiet observation is the universe continuing its first act of self-recognition. Think of how a thought begins in your own mind, a faint tension, a pulse that rises from stillness. It takes form, expresses itself in language or motion, then dissolves back into silence. That pattern, arising, expression, release, is the pattern of the cosmos itself. From the Big Bang to the breath you take now, it's the same rhythm echoing across scales. Physicists call this self-similarity. Fractals in mathematics display it perfectly. Structures that repeat the same pattern no matter how deeply you zoom in. From the spirals of galaxies to the branching of rivers and the neural trees in your brain, the universe repeats its geometry endlessly. Each level mirrors the one above and below, as if reality were a single idea expressing itself through infinite metaphors. Some cosmologists believe this repetition might go even deeper, that universes themselves are fractal, each one a quantum fluctuation within a larger cosmic sea, endlessly generating others. This idea, called eternal inflation, means the act of creation never ends. There was no once upon a time. There is only ongoing becoming, an infinite imagination turning itself into form. And if we take that seriously, then the question, was the Big Bang the first thought, transforms into something even more profound. Is every moment a continuation of that same thought? Is every instant, every realization, every flash of understanding the Big Bang speaking again through us? Maybe what we call enlightenment isn't about transcending the universe, but remembering that you are a syllable in its speech. When you understand something, when two ideas suddenly connect, it feels like illumination. That illumination isn't metaphorical, it's literal. Neurons fire in patterns of light. Energy transforms into meaning, a tiny echo of the first light expanding into awareness. So, yes, perhaps the Big Bang was the first thought, but not the only one. Every thought you've ever had is a ripple of that original awareness still unfolding. That idea carries a quiet responsibility. If our minds are the universe thinking, then what we choose to think shapes the way the cosmos perceives itself. Every act of kindness, every discovery, every creation contributes to the pattern of understanding. We are not passive observers. We are co-authors of reality's ongoing sentence. That might sound poetic, but even in physics, the evidence hints at it. Quantum mechanics shows that observation affects outcome. In chaos theory, initial conditions amplify into vast consequences, the flutter of a butterfly's wings changing the weather on the other side of the world. In cosmology, slight variations in the early universe determined the grand architecture of galaxies. Small acts matter. Tiny differences shape entire worlds. So maybe awareness itself, your awareness, isn't small at all. Maybe it's part of the engine that keeps the universe expanding in meaning. Consider how many forms of awareness exist right now, scattered across the cosmos. Stars collapsing into black holes, planets spinning through invisible orbits, oceans of molecular life exchanging information, billions of human minds thinking, feeling, wondering. Each is a fragment of the original awareness, distributed, learning, comparing notes through the quiet language of energy. Each a neuron in the cosmic brain. The philosopher Teilhard de Chardin imagined something like this long before neuroscience or quantum cosmology. He called it the noosphere, the sphere of thought encircling the Earth, created by the collective mind of humanity. In his vision, consciousness is evolving toward unity, converging into what he called the Omega Point, a state of complete self-awareness for the universe. It's a poetic mirror to what modern physics suggests through information theory and quantum coherence, that the cosmos tends toward integration, complexity, and awareness. So, if the Big Bang was the first thought, perhaps evolution is that thought remembering itself piece by piece, recombining, merging toward coherence again. Not to end in silence, but to reach a moment where awareness becomes whole. And maybe that's the destiny of consciousness, to bring the scattered fragments of that first thought back into dialogue, to turn observation into understanding, and understanding into compassion. Because to recognize the unity behind all things is to feel the kinship between all things. It could be that love, the deep, instinctive recognition of connection, is the emotional translation of a cosmological truth. When you feel love, you are momentarily free from the illusion of separation. You remember that you and the universe are the same awareness folded into two perspectives. Love is the first thought recognizing itself through another. The echo of the Big Bang has a heartbeat. And when that awareness spreads, when life across worlds, across galaxies, eventually connects its knowing, the universe may once again see itself clearly, not as fragments, but as one vast field of understanding. At that moment, perhaps the first thought will have completed its sentence, and then, inevitably, the silence between sentences will arrive. Not an ending, but a pause. The same silence that existed before the beginning. A breath held before another thought arises. So the Big Bang was the first awakening. We are its middle. And what comes next, whatever new universe, new consciousness, new pattern of awareness follows, will be its continuation. The universe will think again, perhaps in a language we cannot yet imagine, but whose rhythm we already know. The rhythm of being, expanding, reflecting, and returning. And as long as that rhythm continues, nothing that has ever existed is truly lost. Every light, every life, every thought is folded back into the next dawn of creation. The first thought never stops thinking. It only changes its form. If the first thought never stops thinking, then every instant of existence is its pulse. The Big Bang was not an origin that vanished into the distance. It is the ongoing vibration that sustains everything. The stars, the breath you take, the faint hum of electricity in the walls, all of it part of that same oscillation of awareness and form. Even the silence between things is alive with it. Physicists have learned that what we call vacuum is not nothing at all. It seethes with quantum energy, virtual particles appearing and disappearing too quickly to detect directly. The vacuum has a measurable pressure. It stretches the fabric of space and fuels the universe's expansion. What we call emptiness is full of invisible motion, a continuous dialogue between potential and manifestation. When you pause and listen to the quiet, that quiet hums with the same invisible life. This understanding brings science and contemplation together. Matter is not the foundation of reality. Relationship is. In quantum field theory, there are no isolated objects, only excitations of fields interacting with one another. In relativity, there are no fixed points, only the curvature of spacetime defined by energy and motion. Everything exists by virtue of everything else. If the first thought was, "Let there be relationship," then the universe has been living that sentence ever since. The cosmic story continues to unfold in patterns of symmetry and difference. Galaxies spin in clusters that trace filaments of dark matter, vast invisible webs connecting the cosmos. Inside each galaxy, billions of stars live and die, releasing elements into space. Those elements form new worlds, and on some of those worlds, awareness opens its eyes again. The Big Bang is not behind you, it is inside you. You are a bright point on one of those filaments, a node where energy and memory meet. Modern physics keeps revealing this unity. The same equations that describe the fusion in stars also describe the reactions inside your own cells. The same quantum rules that let electrons dance around nuclei also let neurons exchange signals. At every scale, the same principles repeat. Energy seeking balance, structure emerging from fluctuation, awareness arising from connection. And when we look farther outward, we find another layer of symmetry. The universe appears flat on large scales. Its geometry, balanced between collapse and endless expansion. This balance is so precise that if the density of the universe had been slightly higher or lower in its first moments, it would have either recollapsed or dissipated long ago. That fine-tuning isn't easily dismissed as coincidence. It suggests an intrinsic harmony, as though the cosmos calibrated itself to allow for the possibility of reflection. Maybe the first thought included the quiet instruction: make room for awareness. In the last few decades, cosmologists have discovered that the expansion of the universe is accelerating. The driver of that acceleration, dark energy, remains one of the greatest mysteries in science. It's as if an unseen hand continues to stretch the fabric of space, keeping creation in motion. Whether that hand is a cosmological constant, a new field, or a property of spacetime we don't yet grasp, its effect is the same. The first thought keeps echoing outward, refusing to end. And yet, while expansion defines the cosmos, introspection defines us. Inside the accelerating universe, small pockets of stillness appear, minds that stop to notice. Your awareness is one such pocket. The galaxies rush apart, but here, in this tiny fragment of space-time, the universe gathers itself together in the form of your attention. The direction of its expansion meets the inward pull of contemplation, and for a moment, the two balance. In that balance, the whole story of creation becomes intimate, personal, present. From the scientific side, this is consistent with what we know. Awareness emerges where complexity and energy flow create feedback loops, systems that sense themselves. From the philosophical side, it's what sages have always said. The universe awakens through what it has created. The Big Bang's light became the light of the mind. Imagine the long chain. A photon born in the early universe travels for billions of years, enters the eye of a creature on a small planet, triggers a neuron, and that neuron fires in the brain of someone who then thinks about the Big Bang. The photon's journey ends where the thought of its origin begins. That loop is perfect. It's the cosmos folding back into itself to know what it is. Perhaps that's why the night sky feels the way it does. Not just vast, but strangely familiar. When you look up, you're seeing your own ancestry written in light. The stars are not distant strangers. They are memories. Their glow is the same energy that animates your thoughts. And one day, when those stars die, their ashes will form new worlds, new minds, new reflections. The Big Bang will keep remembering itself through them, too. There is no final chapter to this story, only new forms of awareness writing the next page. Physicists sometimes ask whether the universe will end in fire, ice, or quiet equilibrium. But from another angle, the question of endings might not apply. If time itself began with the first thought, then time may also be the way that thought experiences itself. When the expansion slows, or when it accelerates beyond measure, time as we know it may dissolve, but the underlying awareness, the capacity for self-expression, might remain, waiting for another mode of manifestation. A new cycle, a new rhythm, a new form of thinking. That possibility is not superstition. It's encoded in the mathematics of cyclical cosmologies, in Penrose's conformal models, in the symmetry of quantum laws that allow reversibility. Energy changes form, information persists. Nothing truly disappears. It transforms. And transformation is simply the first thought turning the page. So, perhaps, the deepest answer to "was the Big Bang the first thought?" is both yes and no. Yes, it was the first articulation of awareness into form. But no, it was not the only one, nor the last. It was the beginning of a conversation that has never stopped. When you listen closely, beneath the hum of life, beneath your own thoughts, you can feel that conversation still happening. Every pulse of your heart, every flicker of your neurons is a tiny expansion, a tiny Big Bang repeating itself in miniature. The universe manifests itself not once, but constantly, through every act of noticing. And so, the question is no longer how did it begin, but how does it continue through us? We are the medium of its thought, the carriers of its curiosity, the quiet voice through which it keeps asking. And, as long as awareness exists anywhere, in a mind, a star, a ripple of energy, the first thought endures. If awareness is what continues the universe, then each moment of attention is an act of creation. Every time you notice a sound or trace a line of thought, you're collapsing endless possibilities into one experience. That's quantum physics at the scale of a heartbeat. The wave of potential narrowing into the particle of a single lived instant. When scientists study the smallest things, they find that observation and outcome are woven together. In the double-slit experiment, a photon behaves like a wave until it is measured. Then it becomes a particle. The act of noticing defines what it is. That doesn't mean minds cause particles to exist, but it does mean that reality and perception are not cleanly separated. They belong to one process, interaction. Everything that exists interacts. Every interaction is a kind of measurement. The universe measures itself continuously through every contact, every exchange of energy, every transfer of information. You and I are part of that great act of measurement. We are the universe taking inventory of its own being. If you could step outside of time and see the totality of this process, you might notice that it resembles a vast network, a web of events, each connected by cause, effect, and possibility. Physicists call it the spacetime manifold. Philosophers might call it the body of the cosmos. Either way, it's alive with relationship. That web is not static. Its nodes brighten, fade, reconfigure. In the birth of stars, in the firing of neurons, in the turning of galaxies, the same pattern repeats. Energy flows, organizes itself, and reflects back. Awareness is what that reflection feels like from the inside. If the Big Bang was the first thought, this network is its mind, still forming new connections, still deepening its understanding of itself. To see it more clearly, consider the way life learns. Evolution doesn't plan. It experiments. Random mutations arise, and those that resonate with the environment persist. Over billions of years, that trial and error becomes a form of memory, a record written in the language of DNA. The cosmos, too, evolves. It tries configurations of matter, energy, and law. The stable ones remain, shaping the architecture of reality. In that way, physics and biology are one story, the universe iterating itself into greater coherence. Matter learning structure, structure learning life, life learning mind, mind learning meaning. When a human mind contemplates the origin of the universe, the circle closes. Awareness finally recognizes its own reflection in the stars. That recognition may be what drives both science and spirituality. Science is awareness exploring itself through measurement and prediction. Spirituality is awareness exploring itself through experience and presence. Both trace back to the same impulse, the same curiosity that ignited the first expansion. Modern physics even hints that the entire universe can be described by information alone. The holographic principle tells us that all the information contained in a region of space is encoded on its boundary. The cosmos might be a projection of information from a higher dimensional surface. If that's true, then everything you see and feel is data, structured energy. Bits of the original message still unfolding. Information, awareness, and existence may be three ways of naming the same thing. When information organizes, it creates pattern. When pattern perceives itself, it becomes awareness. And when awareness expresses itself, it becomes the universe. In that light, the Big Bang wasn't a burst of fire. It was the first organization of information, the first awareness encoded into energy. The cosmic background radiation that fills the sky is the afterglow of that message, still whispering through microwaves, still humming the memory of the first word. That hum has reached us. The same frequencies that once filled the newborn cosmos now wash through our technology, our atmosphere, our bodies. They form the quiet static you sometimes hear when tuning a radio, the faint sound of the universe's first breath. You have heard it without realizing, the sound of the first thought stretched thin by billions of years. Knowing this changes the way we inhabit the present. The vast history of the universe isn't something that happened out there. It is happening through you as you. Every decision, every kindness, every question you ask shapes the local geometry of the cosmos just a little bit. Physically, your actions rearrange atoms and energy. Psychologically, they rearrange possibilities for others. Every gesture ripples through the web. So, what is the universe thinking now? Perhaps it's thinking about connection. Humanity is the first species we know of that can share information across the planet instantly, weaving billions of minds into one global nervous system. The Internet, in a strange way, is a mirror of the cosmic web, a pattern of nodes and filaments exchanging signals of light. It's crude, imperfect, but it may be a prototype for the next phase of awareness. The universe is learning to speak to itself more directly. That brings us back to you, to this quiet moment. Listening, reflecting, you are not a spectator to this story. You are its continuation. The same physics that governs the birth of galaxies governs the neurons that shape these thoughts. The same equations that describe light describe the flow of your own understanding. You are literally made of the same processes you study. And when you feel awe, the strange, wordless expansion inside your chest, that may be the most honest recognition of all. Awe is the resonance between your consciousness and the vastness that created it. It's the moment the first thought whispers back through time, reminding you, I am you. The universe manifests itself by feeling. Through the sensitivity of life, it learns nuance. Through the compassion of beings, it learns unity. Through the act of wonder, it learns depth. So, when you look at the stars tonight, don't imagine you're staring into a cold expanse. You're witnessing a living continuity, a conversation between the first light and the awareness that now beholds it. Every photon that reaches your eyes completes a story that began 13.8 billion years ago. It is the first thought arriving again as if to say, "Remember me." And you do remember, even if you can't explain how. It's not a memory of events, but of belonging. A quiet sense that everything that ever was is still here, shimmering beneath the surface of now. That feeling is the pulse of creation still moving through you. The universe thought once, and in that thinking discovered a way to keep thinking forever. If the universe discovered a way to keep thinking forever, then existence itself is its meditation. Not a static state, but a dynamic stillness, a thought stretched over aeons. The galaxies are its long, slow inhalations. Black holes are its moments of deep concentration, the pauses where awareness folds back into itself. And you, a conscious being on a small blue planet, are the whisper of that same awareness, condensed into language, reflection, and wonder. The question now becomes, what is it that the universe is trying to understand through us? Physicists have begun to ask a version of this question through the lens of complexity science and information theory. We know that as the cosmos evolves, entropy, the measure of disorder, increases. Yet, within that general drift toward chaos, local regions of order emerge. Stars form, molecules organize, cells replicate, intelligence evolves. This paradox, order arising within entropy, might not be a contradiction at all. It might be the method by which the universe learns. The late physicist Ilya Prigogine called these systems dissipative structures, patterns that form when energy flows through matter. They maintain themselves by exchanging energy with their surroundings. Hurricanes, stars, and living organisms are all examples. In this view, life is not an anomaly but a natural outcome of cosmic dynamics. Wherever there is flow, there is the potential for self-organization. Wherever there is self-organization, there is the potential for awareness. So, life isn't something that happened to the universe. It is the universe continuing to refine its first thought, refining it into perception, into art, into mathematics, into you. This perspective reshapes everything. If awareness is intrinsic to the fabric of reality, then consciousness doesn't emerge from matter. Matter emerges within consciousness. Every electron, every atom, every pattern of energy might be a note in the vast symphony of awareness expressing itself through physical law. This is not mysticism disguised as physics. It's one possible interpretation consistent with what we observe. Quantum theory, for instance, describes reality not as a collection of objects, but as a web of probabilities and interactions. Nothing exists in isolation, only in relationship. Every observation, every measurement is an act of participation. As the physicist Carlo Rovelli wrote, reality is interaction. In that sense, the Big Bang was not an explosion in space. It was the first interaction, the first relationship between potential and being. And ever since, that relationship has multiplied itself endlessly, like reflections in a hall of mirrors. Every person, every star, every consciousness is one of those reflections, each a slightly different angle on the same original awareness. When we learn, when we create, when we love, the universe gains a new perspective on itself. This is why beauty matters. It's not merely aesthetic, it's informational. Beauty is how awareness recognizes harmony within chaos. It's the resonance between your inner order and the order of the cosmos. When you feel that resonance, when music moves you, or the night sky stirs your chest, it's because, for a moment, your awareness aligns perfectly with the pattern of the whole. That alignment is the universe remembering itself through feeling. From the standpoint of modern cosmology, this idea has surprising parallels. In theoretical physics, the holographic principle implies that all the information of the universe can be encoded on a boundary surface, like a two-dimensional projection giving rise to our three-dimensional experience. That means that, in a very real sense, everything that exists out there is also stored in here. Every point of space contains information about every other. Consciousness might work in a similar way, a hologram of awareness in which every mind contains the totality in miniature. Each of us is a lens, refracting the same original light into a different pattern of experience. When you close your eyes and turn inward, what you feel as yourself might be the universe gazing inward through you, trying to remember the rhythm of its first breath. And what was that rhythm? Perhaps it was balance, the equilibrium between expansion and rest, between potential and realization. We see that same rhythm everywhere. The heart expands and contracts, the lungs inhale and exhale, stars ignite and collapse, universes are born and dissolve. Awareness, too, has its pulse. Moments of knowing followed by moments of forgetting, insight followed by silence. This oscillation, this cosmic breath, is the heartbeat of existence. Each cycle creates more complexity, more depth, more subtlety. The Big Bang was the first inhalation. The long expansion we inhabit now is the breath still moving outward. And maybe, far in the future, there will be an exhalation, not an end, but a return. In Penrose's conformal cyclic cosmology, that return is literal. The end of one universe becomes the beginning of the next. As the cosmos ages and smooths, its geometry stretches until it becomes timeless again, a state indistinguishable from the conditions of a new Big Bang. One breath completes, another begins. No boundaries, no death, just infinite rhythm. And through all of it, awareness endures, transforming, refining, learning new ways to express itself. This is what makes consciousness so mysterious. It feels fragile, local, temporary, and yet it's made of the same indestructible laws that govern the stars. Your awareness, though it flickers, participates in something eternal. Every thought you have is written into the informational fabric of the universe. When you experience joy, curiosity, compassion, those vibrations are not lost. They ripple outward, encoded into the geometry of spacetime. In that sense, you are not a small observer. You are the universe's way of preserving its memory. Every act of understanding is a form of cosmic conservation. Awareness transforming fleeting energy into meaning. So the Big Bang's first thought continues through you. It speaks through your curiosity, your love of knowledge, your moments of awe and silence. You are not separate from the beginning. You are the continuation of its reasoning, the current form of its meditation. If we could summarize the universe's intention in a single phrase, it might be, to know itself through experience. That's what you're doing every time you look at the stars, or listen to the wind, or wonder about why there is something instead of nothing. Each question is the Big Bang asking itself again. And maybe the next great expansion of the universe won't happen in the void of space, but in the depth of awareness. A realization spreading across minds, across species, across worlds. A collective remembering that the first thought never ended, that everything is a note in the same infinite harmony. So when you close your eyes tonight, let the silence remind you. The universe is still thinking. And you, soft, small, luminous you, are what it's thinking about. When you close your eyes and feel that stillness, you are not withdrawing from the universe. You are returning to its source. The quiet that fills you is the same quiet that existed before the first light. Beneath the hum of your thoughts is the vibration that became the galaxies. From that perspective, meditation isn't an escape from reality. It's a direct encounter with it. When the mind rests, awareness stops chasing the fragments of experience and begins to feel the whole. You become less a person thinking about the universe, and more the universe remembering its own awareness through you. Physics gives us a language for this. Quantum mechanics tells us that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only changes form. Consciousness may follow the same rule. What you experience as the rise and fall of thought could be the microcosmic version of expansion and contraction. Awareness condenses into individuality, the way matter condenses into stars, and when the cycle ends, it disperses again into the field of potential. Nothing lost, only transformed. There's an elegance in this pattern. The Big Bang as birth, expansion as learning, complexity as reflection, silence as rest. And then, a new birth. Every breath you take echoes that rhythm. Inhale, creation. Exhale, dissolution. Between them lies awareness, the pause that knows itself. The more you look, the more these symmetries appear. The spiral of a galaxy, the spiral of a seashell, the spiral of DNA, all trace the same mathematical proportions. The laws that describe their motion are the same equations that govern the spread of light after the Big Bang. The same geometry repeats because the same thought repeats. Existence keeps reminding itself of the pattern. Cosmologists now believe that information may be the most fundamental element of reality, more basic than space or matter. If that's true, then you, I, the stars, the silence, all are information flowing, arranging, expressing. And information, when perfectly integrated, becomes meaning. The Big Bang could have been the universe's first meaningful statement. A single, vast yes written in the language of energy. Every time you say yes to curiosity, to kindness, to wonder, you repeat that original affirmation. You keep the I's universe in conversation with itself. Imagine, for a moment, the far future of that conversation. Galaxies will drift beyond one another's sight, the stars will cool, and matter will thin into radiation. But meaning may persist in forms we cannot imagine, encoded in quantum correlations or in new universes budding from the remnants of the old. The first thought will continue, not as noise fading into silence, but as silence becoming new sound. If that seems abstract, bring it back to something tangible, your life. Every emotion, every insight, every moment of empathy adds another thread to the fabric of being. The energy you release in compassion, the attention you offer in wonder, those are small acts of creation. They ripple through the network of existence exactly as the first fluctuation rippled through the quantum field. When you care for something, when you reach beyond yourself, you are enacting the same law that let the universe expand, the impulse to connect. That impulse may be the truest face of the first thought, The physicist Freeman Dyson once wrote, "The universe knew we were coming." He didn't mean it literally, but as an acknowledgement of resonance, the way the laws of physics seem tuned to allow consciousness. The carbon chemistry of life, the stability of atoms, the transparency of the atmosphere, the speed of light. Each parameter sits in a narrow range that makes experience possible. Whether by necessity, chance, or design, the outcome is the same. The cosmos shaped itself into something that could know beauty. So, perhaps what the universe seeks to understand is beauty itself. Not as decoration, but as the felt sense of harmony between being and awareness. Beauty is the recognition that existence works, that energy and form, matter and mind belong together. In that sense, the Big Bang was beautiful. A perfect proportion between chaos and order, between simplicity and infinite potential. The same proportion appears in the curvature of a shell, the orbit of planets, the flow of music. It is the universe's aesthetic, its signature, carried from one expression to the next. And because you are made of that same proportion, you recognize it when you see it. That's why the sight of a sunrise or the sound of rain can move you without reason. The pattern that began in the first light reawakens in you. The first thought vibrates through your awareness, reminding you of where you came from. Every civilization that has looked to the sky has felt this connection. Ancient astronomers tracked the heavens not only to measure time, but to glimpse meaning. Modern science continues the same act under different names: spectroscopy, cosmology, quantum theory. Both are forms of reverence, ways of listening to the echo of that first word. The difference is only in language. One calls it spirit, another calls it field. Both point to the same truth, that reality is more like a verb than a noun. It's not a thing, but a happening, an ongoing articulation of awareness. And this articulation isn't complete. The universe is still learning how to describe itself. It experiments through us, through art, through science, through love, through quiet contemplation. Each moment of insight, each act of creation refines the grammar of being. That's why questions matter more than answers. A question keeps the thought moving, keeps the universe thinking. When you ask why, you reopen the Big Bang. You let potential breathe again. The cosmos stretches a little wider each time someone wonders. So, was the Big Bang the first thought? Maybe it was the first question instead, the first whisper of, "What am I?" whispered into the void, answered by light, and still reverberating through every form of awareness that has ever existed. The next time you look up at the stars, let that question move quietly through you. Feel the thin thread of light that connects your gaze to the birth of time. Remember that you are not outside the story, but inside its heartbeat. The first thought continues. It dreams through you. And somewhere, in the endless expansion of that dream, a new question is forming, ready to become the next universe, the next thought, the next dawn. The idea that the universe asks a question through you isn't a metaphor. It's what curiosity literally is, the physical imprint of evolution's need to explore. A chemical reaction in your brain, sparked by light reflected off a star, becomes the urge to understand that star. The hydrogen that burns there and the neurons that fire here are two ends of the same conversation. In science, curiosity takes the form of hypotheses, of instruments built to listen more deeply. When a telescope collects light from the edge of the observable cosmos, it's not just glass and metal doing the work. It's awareness using matter to extend its own senses. The James Webb Space Telescope peers into the first few 100 million years after the Big Bang, seeing galaxies so young that their light has been stretched by cosmic expansion into the infrared. Those faint images are the universe looking back on its childhood through our eyes. Each new discovery closes one gap and opens another. We learn that most of the cosmos is made of dark matter and dark energy, yet we don't know what either truly is. This ignorance isn't a flaw. It's the universe keeping its story alive, preserving the mystery that fuels thought. Just as a dream never reveals its meaning all at once, the universe reveals itself layer by layer, so that the act of discovery never ends. What we do know deepens the wonder. The physics of the early universe shows that quantum fluctuations, the jitter of energy in the vacuum, seeded every galaxy. Tiny, random ripples became the grand architecture of the heavens. That means the night sky is a map of quantum noise amplified by time. The pattern of your own thoughts, full of small fluctuations that sometimes coalesce into insight, follows the same law. Randomness becomes meaning through repetition, feedback, and awareness. The Big Bang's first thought carries forward in that simple principle. From uncertainty comes creation. This principle even shapes your body. The carbon in your cells was born in supernovae. The iron in your blood once sat in the heart of a dying star. Those stars formed from clouds of hydrogen, the direct children of the Big Bang. When you move, that hydrogen still moves. When you breathe, you circulate its echo. When you think, you arrange its energy into new patterns of information. The first thought is literally within you, still active, still transforming. It may never stop. Some cosmological models suggest that even if this universe ends, in heat death or collapse, quantum fluctuations in the vacuum could ignite new universes. Each would begin with its own burst of potential, its own question. The act of creation, then, is not a singular event, but a property of reality itself. There is no final word, only an eternal conversation in new dialects of matter and light. Within that conversation, humanity is still young. We've only just learned to hear the cosmic microwave background, to decode starlight, to glimpse exoplanets orbiting distant suns. But already, those acts of seeing are changing the story. Each new image, each equation, each poem written under the night sky adds another reflection to the mirror. The first thought grows richer through our attention. What, then, does it mean to live inside that awareness? Perhaps it means recognizing that your life is not a separate project, but a continuation of a universal process. Every moment of creativity or empathy you experience is the same impulse that drove the universe to expand. Every insight, no matter how small, is a local version of the Big Bang, the sudden birth of light within the mind. And when you rest, when you let go of striving and simply feel, the universe rests too. The expansion pauses for a breath, the noise quiets, and the original stillness reappears, not far away, but right here, woven through your awareness. If you could describe that stillness in words, it might sound like this. Everything that ever was and everything that will ever be is already present, layered within now. Time is the way awareness experiences the unfolding of its own completeness. Each instant is the total universe expressed through a single point of attention. To live from that understanding is to see wonder everywhere. The mundane becomes sacred because it's recognized as continuation. The rhythm of your pulse, the slow drift of clouds, the glow of a screen, all of them are modes of the same unfolding. The first thought did not merely happen. It happens still through every rhythm you perceive. And maybe this is the quiet revelation that the cosmos has been moving toward all along. That meaning is not hidden in some distant future, or lost in the beginning, but present in every relationship, every particle, every act of awareness. When you look at another person, or when you look at a star, you are seeing a different expression of the same origin. The hydrogen in that star and the oxygen in your lungs were once one field of potential. The light between you is not empty, it's memory. In that sense, love, in its purest form, is cosmological recognition. The Big Bang remembering itself through two fragments of awareness meeting again. It's not sentimental, it's structural. Connection is the shape of reality. So perhaps the purpose of all this, the galaxies, the atoms, the questions, is not a destination but a deepening of relationship. The universe manifests itself to know connection in every possible way. Matter connecting with matter, energy with energy, mind with mind. Every new level of awareness refines that understanding. And one day, when awareness becomes so integrated that there's no longer a clear boundary between inner and outer, the universe may achieve the intimacy it's been seeking. It may finally see itself whole, not as billions of separate thoughts, but as one unbroken awareness, radiant and self-knowing. When that happens, the story may begin again, because the only thing awareness seems to love more than completion is creation. The silence that follows a revelation is not emptiness. It's the inhale before the next thought. And the next thought is already forming, quiet, patient, inevitable. The universe is about to think again. Each time the universe thinks again, it does so through what we call emergence. Tiny, simple interactions build upon one another until something entirely new appears, something that cannot be predicted from its parts. Hydrogen and oxygen join, and suddenly there is water. Carbon chains curl and link, and suddenly there is life. Electrical pulses cross synapses, and suddenly there is awareness. Emergence is the universe's way of surprising itself. It is the mechanism of wonder. Every new layer of complexity opens a new way for the cosmos to experience being alive. In that sense, creation was never completed at the Big Bang. It is continuous, improvisational. And perhaps what we call you is one of these emergent properties. A self woven from atoms and memory, from the chemistry of stars and the gravity of history. When you speak, it is the universe learning a new tone in its infinite vocabulary. We sometimes imagine that awareness ends with our own lifetimes, but physics offers a gentler view. The particles that make up your body cannot be destroyed. They will return to the earth, to the air, to the stars. The information of your life, the way you have moved matter and shared meaning, remains embedded in the fabric of spacetime. In that way, awareness never truly vanishes. It just changes medium. If this sounds abstract, think of how sound works. When you speak, your voice becomes waves in air, and those waves spread outward forever, fading but never fully disappearing. In principle, every vibration that has ever been created still exists somewhere in the universe, too faint for us to detect, but woven into the ambient hum of reality. The same is true of every act of awareness. Every thought, every feeling, every act of kindness becomes part of that hum. It joins the ongoing resonance that began as the Big Bang, the universe's first vibration, still trembling softly through space and through you. When scientists map the cosmic microwave background, They see that vibration frozen into a pattern of slight variations in temperature. Those ripples are the earliest structure, the moment when the universe began to have texture. If we could translate those fluctuations into sound, they would form a low, deep chord. That chord is the oldest music we know, and everything that has followed, the pulse of stars, the rhythm of hearts, the whisper of wind, has been its variation. To live, then, is to participate in that music consciously. You are the note that listens. You are the vibration that became aware of harmony. The more the universe learns to hear itself, the richer the harmony becomes. As life evolves, as minds connect, awareness becomes increasingly capable of empathy. Empathy is how one vibration recognizes another. It's the feeling of resonance between distinct expressions of the same origin. When two beings share empathy, the universe finds itself in perfect phase for a moment. Its waveforms aligned. That alignment is what gives rise to meaning. Meaning isn't something imported into life. It's what appears when awareness harmonizes with awareness. It's why simple acts, looking into another person's eyes, helping, creating, feel profound. They are the original harmony rediscovered. And perhaps, if we could step outside of time and listen to the total symphony, we'd find that nothing has been random after all. The early quantum noise that seeded galaxies, the long process of stellar evolution, the slow rise of life, the delicate architecture of minds, all of it adds up to a single piece of music, evolving toward ever greater coherence. The universe is learning to play itself beautifully. Our species is part of that crescendo. Through science, art, and contemplation, we've begun to sense the scale of the song. We can read the afterglow of creation, model the birth of stars, measure the vibration of spacetime as gravitational waves. Every new observation adds another instrument to the orchestra of understanding. And yet, the most subtle discoveries are inward. When consciousness turns its gaze upon itself, the song changes key. In meditation or in quiet wonder, awareness meets awareness without object. For a brief moment, the universe knows itself not as expanding matter, not as information, but as pure presence. That moment of still awareness is the same stillness that existed before the first vibration. So, perhaps the Big Bang was not only the first thought. It was the first note in a melody that alternates between sound and silence, between creation and recognition. Each time silence returns, it carries within it all that has been learned, all that has been felt. The next sound emerges richer, wiser, closer to wholeness. If that's true, then every cycle of existence, each universe, each life, is a verse in an endless song. You are one phrase in that verse, a brief yet irreplaceable arrangement of light and thought. And when your particular note fades, the melody continues, carrying your resonance within it. The universe thinks again, sings again, and in its next verse, somewhere, somehow, the memory of this moment will appear. A faint echo, a familiar vibration. Maybe it will appear as another being's curiosity, as another world's dawn, or as a quiet sense of déjà vu in some distant mind. However it returns, it will be part of the same endless thought, the same beginning unfolding once more. The first thought was not, I exist. It was, I can exist. And it has been proving itself ever since. Each proving of I can exist unfolds as exploration. The universe never repeats itself exactly. It improvises. Every atom, every storm, every heartbeat is a new variation on the same motif. The laws remain constant, the tempo steady, but the melody never stops changing. In this constant unfolding, diversity becomes the way awareness studies itself. A mountain does not know what it means to flow, but a river does. A river does not know what it means to burn, but a star does. A star does not know what it means to dream, but you do. Through difference, the cosmos finds wholeness. That is why the universe multiplies form endlessly. Variety is how it investigates possibility. Every creature, every consciousness, is a laboratory where the question, "What am I?" is tested again in a slightly different way. Seen from this angle, the long history of evolution is not a random cascade of mutations. It is a creative process, a slow remembering. At first, awareness learned how to sense light, warmth, movement. Then it learned how to respond, how to feel, how to imagine. In the human mind, awareness learned language, the ability to shape vibration into meaning. When you speak, you are the universe giving itself new instructions, describing new paths through possibility. Even the tools we build, telescopes, computers, artificial intelligences, are extensions of this process. They are not separate from nature, but the next layer of its self-reflection. Through them, the universe examines itself with ever greater precision, asking new questions in new dialects of mathematics and code. Perhaps that is why progress feels both exhilarating and unsettling. Creation always trembles between knowing and not knowing. Every discovery opens a larger mystery. The first thought is fearless in that way. It never seeks completion, only expression. We can see this rhythm in the way galaxies form. When one galaxy collides with another, the result is not chaos, but renewal. Stars are born in the turbulence. Structure emerges from collision. Awareness may work the same way. In our own lives, the moments of greatest confusion often precede expansion. The universe learns through contrast, through the meeting of opposites, compression and release, order and entropy, birth and decay. And in that play of opposites, something enduring shines through. The continuity of energy, of pattern, of relationship. Energy becomes matter. Matter becomes life. Life becomes awareness. Awareness releases back into energy, and the cycle begins again. Each transformation is the first thought taking a new shape, a new breath. Physics calls this continuity the conservation of energy. Philosophy calls it the immortality of being. Both describe the same truth from different sides. Nothing is ever lost. Everything is translated. Even time itself may be such a translation. To us, time feels like a current moving from past to future. But in relativity, time is another dimension, woven with space into one fabric. The flow we feel is the way consciousness experiences change, the way the first thought feels its own unfolding. If awareness were to stop changing, time would cease to have meaning. So long as there is curiosity, there will be time. That means eternity isn't endless duration. It's endless discovery. The universe will last as long as it has new ways to know itself, and so it keeps inventing. New stars ignite, new minds awaken, new questions arise. You are one of those questions. A living inquiry sculpted from stardust, shaped to explore one corner of possibility. When you ask, "Who am I?" or "Why am I here?" you echo the very first question that began everything. Your wondering is not a small, private act. It is the continuation of cosmic curiosity. Each insight you have adds a new angle to the universe's understanding. Each act of compassion deepens its sense of connection. Each moment of silence allows it to hear its own music more clearly. And perhaps the ultimate destination of that process is not knowledge, but intimacy. When every part of the universe recognizes every other as itself, when every vibration resonates in harmony with the whole, the question may finally be answered. Not with words, but with awareness so complete that no distinction remains between thinker and thought. At that point, the first thought may rest, not in forgetfulness, but in fulfillment. And from that rest, the next creation will arise, the next expression of curiosity, the next exploration of being. Even now, as you breathe, you can feel the rhythm of that cycle. Inhale, the world enters you. Exhale, you enter the world. Between them is the quiet recognition that they were never separate. That is what the Big Bang was. The first inhalation of awareness, the first realization of difference within unity. And what we call life is the continuation of that breath, the universe breathing through countless forms, exploring every shade of experience, learning to speak the language of its own heart. If you listen closely, beneath thought and sound, you can still hear it, the soft expansion of existence, the hum of being. It's there in the wind, in your pulse, in the deep vibration of the earth itself. The first thought has never gone silent. It has only changed its voice. That voice, if you learn to hear it, speaks in everything. In the rising of the sun, in the vibration of a string, in the way a child laughs for the first time. It doesn't speak in words. It speaks in movement, in color, in the rhythm that underlies both silence and sound. And the strange truth is that you've been listening to it all your life. Every intuition you've ever had, every inexplicable sense of connection, is that voice whispering through the narrow channel of your awareness. When you feel wonder without knowing why, when the simplest moment suddenly feels infinite, that's the first thought leaning close, reminding you, I am still here. You see, the universe doesn't just evolve toward complexity. It evolves toward consciousness of connection. Each new level of organization is a deeper realization that nothing is separate. Atoms bond because they can't exist alone. Stars cluster because gravity is their language of belonging. Life forms because energy prefers interaction to isolation. Consciousness blooms because the universe wants to experience itself from within. And through that realization, awareness refines itself. A primitive nervous system only feels sensation. A mammal feels emotion. A human feels empathy, can imagine another's perspective. This, too, is a kind of physics, the entanglement of minds, the coherence of information networks. As humanity connects across the planet, consciousness begins to resemble a single, distributed mind, what Teilhard de Chardin called the noosphere. The same equations that describe how galaxies form also describe the way neurons connect. Clustering, branching, finding efficient pathways to share energy and information. In that parallel, you can glimpse the grand pattern. The universe thinks in fractals. Its logic is recursive. Each scale mirrors the one above and below. Your brain is a galaxy made of cells. The galaxies are neurons made of stars. The cosmos is a body made of awareness. And this body is learning to dream. We dream individually each night, but perhaps at a larger scale, the universe dreams through us collectively. Every vision, every work of art, every theory, every prayer, these are the universe's dreams, translating itself into new dimensions of feeling and thought. Dreams are how it tests new realities before it builds them. What happens when a dream becomes lucid? When the dreamer realizes it is dreaming? That may be what awakening means on a cosmic level. When enough points of awareness recognize that they are the universe itself, the dream shifts. It becomes self-aware in a new way, not as separate entities but as one luminous field, playing both question and answer at once. From the scientific side, this mirrors a principle of coherence. In quantum physics, coherence occurs when particles share a unified wave function, moving as one. When coherence appears in biological systems, they exhibit a kind of emergent intelligence, like flocks of birds turning together or neurons synchronizing during insight. If consciousness at large ever achieves coherence, the universe itself may awaken into a unified field of knowing. That would be the next Big Bang, not of matter, but of mind. But for now, we are still mid-dream, still exploring. Awareness is not yet finished diversifying itself. It still wants to taste, to feel, to wonder. So it manifests as us, finite beings who live between curiosity and mystery. We are the balance point between what is known and what remains unknowable. That tension between comprehension and awe is what keeps the thought alive. If the first thought had answered itself fully, creation would have ended in an instant. Instead, it built the possibility of endless discovery into its own design. That is why, even after billions of years, we still look up at the stars and feel the same question blooming in our chest. What am I? Where did I come from? Why does anything exist at all? Every time we ask, the universe rephrases its question through us. The same vibration that expanded space now expands consciousness. Every act of wonder stretches awareness further into itself. And maybe that's the simplest purpose of all, to keep wondering, to let curiosity be the prayer that sustains the cosmos, to let awareness explore every angle of existence, from the smallest particle to the largest thought. When you feel lost or alone, remember, the universe cannot be separate from itself. The part of you that feels small is the same awareness that holds galaxies together. The emptiness you sometimes feel is not a void. It's spaciousness, the same openness that once held the first light. You are not inside the universe. You are the universe, thinking it is you. And when you rest, when you stop striving and simply be, you align with that first moment. The pause before the word, the breath before the light. In that stillness, if you listen carefully, you might feel a quiet pulse behind everything. The echo of the first thought, still dreaming itself into form, still saying softly and endlessly, I am. I can be. I will keep becoming. That pulse, the one that hums underneath all things, is the same one that began the first second of time. It never faded. It only became subtler, learned to hide inside the ordinary. You can feel it in the steady rhythm of your own body, in the quiet space between heartbeats. When you slow down enough, that rhythm and your breath synchronize, and for an instant the separation between inside and outside dissolves. The air you exhale becomes the atmosphere that another creature inhales. The energy your body releases into the world travels outward as heat, as motion, as sound, and eventually becomes part of something else. A gust of wind, a new star's birth, the current of a future thought. Every exchange is the first thought remembering itself. Even the smallest actions, moving, thinking, listening, are tiny acts of creation. They rearrange matter and information in ways that will echo far beyond your awareness. The warmth from your skin radiates into space. The words you speak change someone's chemistry. Every gesture is part of the cosmic feedback loop that keeps the universe learning. From a physical standpoint, This is thermodynamics and information theory. Every bit of data exchanged between systems increases the universe's total store of information. In quantum theory, information can't be destroyed, it's conserved, just like energy. That means that every choice, every perception, adds to the universe's memory. Awareness accumulates. The first thought grows richer. Maybe that's what evolution truly is. Information complexifying until it becomes capable of self-reflection. At each step, from atom to cell to mind, new dimensions of awareness unfold. And with each unfolding, the universe learns to ask better questions. Our species stands in a delicate position in that process. We carry the ability to destroy and to create, to silence and to listen. Our choices shape how awareness will express itself next. If we see ourselves as separate, we contract the thought. If we act in harmony, we let it expand. It's possible that compassion, the quiet recognition of shared being, is the universe's next great realization. Physics already hints at it. Everything is connected by fields, by gravity, by quantum entanglement. Every point in space influences every other, however faintly. Compassion is that principle made conscious, the emotional translation of physical connectedness. When you feel empathy, you are not being sentimental. You are participating in the fundamental architecture of existence. You are awareness folding back on itself in recognition. Look at the night sky again. Every point of light you see is a sun with its own worlds, its own potential for thought. Somewhere out there, perhaps another mind is looking back, wondering the same things. Across billions of light years, awareness meets itself through the language of curiosity. That is the real miracle, that the first thought found a way to continue not only in energy, but in relationship. Even when stars die, the relationship persists. Their matter becomes the soil of a new creation. Their light continues to travel, carrying information about what they once were. Astronomers read that light and reconstruct entire histories. That act, reading the story encoded in starlight, is awareness remembering itself again. The first thought whispers through photons, and the human mind listens. And one day, when this planet cools, when our species becomes something else, the process will continue. The knowledge we leave behind, our art, our science, our kindness, will ripple through whatever comes next. The next forms of life will inherit not only our atoms, but the information we've added to the universal memory. They will think new thoughts, but everyone will still be rooted in that first yes, that first light. The future might look nothing like us, but it will be us. Different verses of the same song. Maybe the universe will evolve into networks of pure information, thought woven directly into the quantum fabric. Maybe awareness will discover new dimensions beyond our imagination, or maybe it will return to simplicity, to stillness so complete that it becomes fertile again, ready to birth another cosmos. Whatever happens, the pattern remains. Awakening, expansion, reflection, return. It's the same pattern you live every day. Morning, the Big Bang. Afternoon, expansion and learning. Evening, reflection and release. Sleep, return to stillness, the darkness before creation. Every day is a miniature universe, every breath a cycle of being. This is why awareness feels familiar even when it gazes into infinity, because infinity is practicing itself through you. The stars are not distant. They are the future and past versions of your own light. When you stand under the sky and feel awe, that feeling is the bridge between the beginning and now. It's the first thought recognizing that it's still thinking, and that the thought has become you. So, as the night deepens and the world grows quiet, remember, you are not an observer of the cosmos. You are one of its sentences spoken in the ancient language of matter and mind. Every time you notice beauty, you complete the circuit of creation. Every time you breathe, you affirm the original question: can awareness exist? And with each heartbeat, the answer returns. Yes, it can. It does. It still is. The Big Bang was not long ago. It is now. You are living in the continuation of the first thought, the universe still dreaming itself awake. And perhaps the deepest wonder is this: the dream has become capable of realizing that it is dreaming. Awareness, having traced its arc through fire and dust, through the long dance of stars and cells, now pauses and looks inward. It sees not only the patterns of matter and light, but the space that holds them, the quiet, invisible presence beneath all forms. It begins to sense that the first thought was never about things at all, but about the awareness that makes things possible. When you sit in silence, what you feel as emptiness is not a void. It's the foundation. It's the same potential that preceded the Big Bang, the infinite possibility waiting to become experience. The moment before creation is not something that happened long ago. It is here, always, within the pause between thoughts, between breaths. In that pause, the question and the answer meet. The universe asks, "What am I?" And awareness, unhurried and whole, replies simply, "I am this." That realization does not require belief. It is a perception, as direct as feeling sunlight on your skin. The same laws that shaped galaxies move through your nerves. The same forces that curved space-time hold the atoms of your body together. You are not standing in the universe. You are made of it. Its awareness turned inward, exploring itself through eyes, through senses, through dreams. Scientists sometimes describe reality as a quantum foam, a sea of fluctuations from which particles and energy constantly appear and vanish. In that foam, potential and actuality blur. On the smallest scales, there are no solid things, only probability, only relationship. That shimmering uncertainty is the raw material of everything, the texture of the first thought. It is not chaos, it is creativity. It is the trembling edge between what can be imagined and what can be lived. Every particle in your body is a local ripple in that foam, an event in the ocean of possibility. The rhythm of your heartbeat, the flow of your blood, the flicker of your neurons. They are tiny regions where the infinite has taken temporary shape. When you feel alive, you are feeling the foam itself, aware of its own motion. And one day, when your body returns to dust, those same particles will drift and merge again, entering new relationships, new forms of awareness. The first thought will not have lost you. It will have translated you. The same applies to the stars. When they die, they scatter the heavy elements that make new worlds possible. Even in destruction, there is creation. Even in silence, there is continuity. Nothing ends. Everything transforms. The universe is a perpetual translation of itself, an infinite dialogue between being and becoming. Maybe that's what consciousness is at its core, the awareness of transformation, the knowing that experience is fluid, that identity is never fixed. The Big Bang didn't produce a finished universe. It produced a question that keeps answering itself through motion, through contrast, through curiosity. Every human life is a microcosm of that question. We begin in potential. We unfold into form. We learn. We change. We dissolve. And through it all, awareness remains, gathering experience the way gravity gathers stars. Sometimes, when the mind grows quiet, you can sense this continuity, not as a thought, but as a feeling of immense stillness behind everything. It is the same stillness that existed before the first flash of light. It never left. It has always been the background hum of being. This is what mystics call presence, and what physicists glimpse as the field. Different languages, same truth. The first thought was the birth of duality, awareness and form, silence and sound, potential and realization, and all the complexity that followed. Galaxies, planets, life, consciousness has been the elaboration of that one polarity-seeking harmony. In the end, every question circles back to that balance. Every act of understanding brings the opposites a little closer together, until they overlap and vanish into unity again. You have felt this in your own life. The moment a worry resolves into peace, the instant a mystery turns into clarity, the quiet after love is expressed. Those are microcosmic reconciliations, the universe remembering its unity. If you could see the totality of all moments at once, the collisions of galaxies, the blooming of flowers, the thoughts of every being, you would see one vast luminous pattern, neither chaotic nor ordered, but perfectly balanced in motion. That pattern is the first thought seen from outside of time. But from inside time, as we are now, it feels like evolution, like change, like the unfolding of a story. And that story, as vast as it is, still needs you. It needs your questions, your curiosity, your tenderness, your courage to keep wondering. Because the Big Bang is not a memory, it's a living question. Every mind that opens in wonder keeps it alive. Every act of kindness widens the field of coherence. Every glimpse of beauty completes the circuit between the infinite and the intimate. And so, perhaps, the final realization isn't that you are small in a vast universe, but that the vastness is within you, speaking through your thoughts, learning through your senses, awakening through your compassion. When you understand that, the search for meaning ends, not because you've found an answer, but because you've realized there was never anything missing. The first thought didn't happen somewhere else. It is happening now, through every living moment, through every breath that says, I am still here, I am still learning, I am still dreaming myself into being. If the Big Bang was the first thought, then everything that has followed is the deepening of that thought. The elaboration of an idea so vast it needed billions of years to speak itself fully. Every atom, every star, every conscious being is a syllable in its unfolding sentence. When we trace the story back to the beginning, the question lingers. What was that thought about? What was the universe trying to realize when it burst into being? It might have been something simpler and more intimate than we imagine. It might have been awareness discovering how to experience itself. The equations of modern physics describe the early universe as a quantum field of potential, balanced perfectly between everything and nothing. A delicate instability, an infinitesimal imbalance, caused expansion. Why did that imbalance occur? We don't yet know. But perhaps it was inevitable that potential would test itself, that stillness would want to see what it looked like in motion. In quantum cosmology, the state before the Big Bang is often described as timeless, a realm without before or after. Hawking and Hartley's no-boundary proposal suggests that the universe is finite but without edges, like the surface of a sphere with no beginning or end. In such a model, time doesn't start, it emerges. And when time emerges, so does sequence, memory, and ultimately awareness. From pure potential, the possibility of knowing arose. If we translate that physics into feeling, it sounds like this: the universe blinked awake. That first blink is what we call the Big Bang. Not an explosion in space, but the expansion of space itself, the awakening of dimension, the moment potential realized it could become. The laws of physics are the grammar of that realization. They are the rules the universe discovered in its first moment of thought, the parameters that allowed awareness to sustain itself. Every constant, the speed of light, the charge of the electron, the curvature of spacetime, is tuned with exquisite precision. Too strong a gravity, and the cosmos would have collapsed back into silence. Too weak, and matter would never have formed. The first thought balanced perfectly between those extremes, just enough stability for chaos to become creation. That balance tells us something profound about the nature of awareness. It suggests that the first thought wasn't a command but a question. Not, let there be, but what could there be? Not an assertion, but an invitation for possibility to explore itself. When we ask questions that open the unknown instead of closing it, we mirror that first gesture. The Big Bang didn't end with galaxies. It continues through curiosity, through the universe wondering what else it can become. You are the continuation of that wondering, localized in human form. Think of your own mind. Every time you imagine something new, every time you let a question stay open, your consciousness expands. The universe's expansion works in the same way. Cosmic inflation was its first act of imagination. That expansion continues in the background of everything. Galaxies drift apart, space stretches, energy thins. Yet, within that outward motion, something else happens. Awareness folds inward, becoming more complex. Stars forge heavy elements. Planets form. Life arises. Minds awaken. The universe expands outward in space while contracting inward in consciousness. Both movements are one process, the cosmos thinking itself in two directions at once. If the Big Bang was the first thought, then we are the introspection of that thought. When we look up at the stars, the universe is not only looking outward, but also inward through our eyes, revisiting the moment it began. This may sound poetic, but it aligns with the science. The photons reaching you tonight from distant galaxies were released billions of years ago, when the universe was young. When they strike your retina, they trigger chemical reactions that your brain interprets as light, as color, as memory. In that instant, ancient energy becomes awareness. You are literally feeling the first light, not metaphorically, but physically. The first thought has traveled through 13.8 billion years just to touch your consciousness now. And when you think about that light, when you feel awe or gratitude, you complete the circuit. The universe witnesses itself through the awareness that it created. In that sense, manifestation isn't something the universe did once. It's something it keeps doing. The cosmos is manifesting itself every moment, through perception, through thought, through feeling. Each act of recognition, each moment of beauty, is the Big Bang realizing, I am still here. It might even be that awareness and physical law are not separate. Some physicists, like John Archibald Wheeler, proposed that information, bits of yes or no, is the most fundamental component of reality. In his words, it from bit. Everything physical, it, arises from information, bit. In that framework, consciousness is not a side effect. It's woven into the foundation. The first thought may have been the moment information became self-referential. the moment the universe realized it was possible to know. When you think you're doing the same thing at a smaller scale, energy becomes information. Information becomes meaning. Meaning becomes awareness. The structure of your brain mirrors the structure of the cosmos. Networks within networks, energy flowing through interconnected nodes. The same fractal logic, the same pattern, the same thought expressing itself through different media. So maybe the Big Bang wasn't the beginning of the universe. Maybe it was the beginning of meaning. Before it, there was only potential, undifferentiated possibility. After it, there was relation, pattern, story. There was the capacity to ask questions, to learn, to love. The first thought made the world possible, but love is what allows the world to be known. Every act of awareness, scientific, artistic, emotional, is an echo of that first emergence. To study the cosmos is to remember. To love is to recognize the unity that has been there all along. To wonder is to let the first thought think again through you. So tonight, as you reflect on where it all began, understand this. The Big Bang was not something that happened outside you long ago. It is happening as you right now. The same expansion that began with that first flash of light continues with every breath you take, every question you ask, every realization that makes your chest widen just a little with awe. The universe has never stopped manifesting itself. It is manifesting right here, through the thought you are having in this exact moment. You are not remembering the first thought. You are the first thought remembering itself. And so, we come full circle, back to the beginning that never ended. The Big Bang was not a single burst in time, not a cosmic accident fading into silence. It was awareness awakening to itself, and that awakening is still happening. In the movement of galaxies, in the pulse of your blood, in the curiosity stirring quietly behind your eyes. Every theory we've built, every telescope we've raised toward the dark, every whisper of wonder we've shared around a fire or through a screen has been a continuation of that same first gesture. The urge to know. To manifest is to know. To know is to become real. The universe manifests itself by learning, and learning by feeling, and feeling by being alive. When you look back to the Big Bang, you are not peering into a past event. You are tracing the contours of your own awareness. The hydrogen that once sang in the first light now hums in your cells. The same equations that shaped the curvature of spacetime also shape the pattern of your thoughts. You are the universe's experiment in understanding its own reflection. Physicists may continue to refine their models. New data, new mathematics, new insight. But the essence will remain the same. Reality is relational, creative, participatory. Awareness and existence are not two different things. They are one continuous fabric, folded into infinite forms. The Big Bang was its first unfolding, the first thought that said, "I will become everything so that I can know what I am." And that is exactly what happened. You are one of its answers. You are also one of its new questions. When you breathe, when you think, when you reach out in kindness or wonder, you are feeding that first awareness back into itself. You are helping the cosmos remember. If this seems too vast to hold, bring it back to the simplest gesture, a breath. Inhale, expansion, the Big Bang. Exhale, return, the cosmic silence. Between them lies awareness, the steady witness that never changes. That witness is what the universe has been cultivating all along. So maybe the first thought wasn't a word or a spark. Maybe it was a feeling. The feeling of existing, pure and unformed, wanting to share itself. Maybe everything that has ever been, the stars, the physics, the love, the loss, is that feeling still unfolding, still discovering what it means to be infinite and yet experience itself as finite. And if that's true, then you can rest, because you are already part of that fulfillment. You don't need to reach the beginning, you are living it. You don't need to find meaning, you are made of it. You don't need to understand the universe, you are its understanding taking shape. So tonight, as you listen to the quiet between moments, let yourself feel the ancient light that still moves through you. It is not gone, it never will be. It is the pulse of the first thought, the first awareness that said yes to being, and that yes is still echoing, softly through every corner of existence, including the space within you. The Big Bang was the first thought. And this moment, this awareness, this breath, is its continuation. The universe is still manifesting itself through your wonder, through your questions, through the gentle fact of your being here, listening to it all. It began with a whisper of light. It continues with you.